Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik from Figured Out Productions. The following video is a video of some kind, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hey guys, it's Adam here, and welcome to PlayLoad. This is all my video game pickups for the month of November 2024. And as you can see, we got kind of a package sandwich going on here. We got this big thing from Titan Army, we have a bunch of games from various adventures, and then a few additional packages, and we're going to talk all about them. Before we do that, though, if you guys could do me a favor, please like this video, comment down below, subscribe if you've never done that before, as well as check out all the social media stuff in the description. I've got Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, Patreon, my Spreadshirt, travel channel, etc. I appreciate the support on all those platforms. Thank you so much. Let's get into it. Now, obviously, you are seeing this gigantic box here, and to be fair, this thing is a little bit of a logistical problem, so what I've kind of decided to do is break the video up into 3 sections. This is this section. What I'm going to do, though, is I think we're going to have to kind of cut here. I'm going to have to open this up and, like, get it all set up, test it out, and then talk to you about it. What it is it's a monitor from a company called Titan Army. It's a 32-inch monitor, so, yeah, it takes up a lot of space. So I unboxed it. It was a relatively simple process. You know, it's just a box. But Titan Army, I'll be honest, I hadn't heard of them before, but I will say already up front, spoilers, I actually quite like this monitor. And if you want to check it out, I'll put a link in the description so you can scope it out yourself. So full disclosure, they did send this to me for free, obviously for the purpose of a review, and I'm happy to do it because this is going to make my life a lot easier. So inside the box, once you get past it, obviously it's packed in like styrofoam and everything. I took it out of there. The monitor itself is actually pretty lightweight, so it's not that hard to deal with. There's little components that come with it. There's a series of mount pieces, so there's like a gooseneck like part. There's also the footing as well, and obviously this will require some assembly, so we'll get back to that. It also comes with some screws, a pack of 4 of them, 3 of which I ended up needing and only 1 left over as a spare. Per the instructions, there's apparently extra screws in the event you use a different mount, and to that end they also included 4 additional longer type screws that are specifically for certain types of mounts. It also advises not to get rid of them just because you might end up needing them in the future. For those who are not sure what monitor model this is, it is the C32C1S by Titan Army. It came with a couple of, it came with a power lead, which was really short. That's actually one of my only complaints about this thing, but it's a universal type of power lead, that 3-prong deal, so it's not that big of a deal. You can replace it with something else. Also, as a bonus, I like the fact that this monitor's power supply is internal. It's not external, so you don't have this big block anywhere. That's nice. And on top of that, it also came with a set of DisplayPort cables. I don't really need that, but yeah, that was cool that it came with it all the same. And if you get confused in the the process, it also comes with a manual and just kind of like warranty information, that type of thing. You do have to do a little bit of do-it-yourself, to put it together. The back of the monitor has like this little plate type of deal that's easy enough to remove. You just kind of lift up a clasp and then the thing comes out. And then you kind of assemble the pieces. So for that, if you can follow the instructions, or you can just look at what I'm doing in the video, but basically you take the gooseneck part and you kind of put it through the main piece, and then there's going to be these 2 points where you got to put screws in. So obviously go ahead and do that. And once they're tight enough to your satisfaction, you kind of consider that part done, and then you can put that into the back of the monitor, and that part's good to go. On the bottom, you can just kind of attach the legs. There is a screw back there that you can install, and once you do that, it'll be more secure. But anyway, so after that, the monitor was set up and was good to go. So yeah, here it is. Hey, it's out on display, and we've got the Xbox One X here. This is not the Series X. So here's the deal. Let's talk specs of this monitor. Okay, the monitor is a 32-inch monitor, which is obvious because it is huge. It supports 240 hertz. However, you have to have some sort of device that supports it. The Xbox does not. It's 120 hertz max. The monitor is not 4K. It's 1440p. So basically, this monitor, I can get the Xbox One X to run 1440p at 120 hertz, and that it ran no problem. It's also, as you can see, curved monitor. This is my first curved monitor. I've never actually owned one before, and I'm not gonna lie, I really like that. That actually like pleasantly surprised me. Like looking at the center of it, I felt a little bit more immersed in what I was doing, and I was like, all right, I kind of see why people like this. It's a 16:9 aspect ratio, so it's not technically a wide body or wide monitor. However, you can alter that. The monitor itself has tons of settings, but you can actually put it into essentially a letterbox wide mode, wide display, and then any device that supports it, it'll do that. Now, because the monitor is so big, again at 32 inches, it'll almost come off like you have a wide 24 monitor or wide 24-inch monitor, etc. But I kind of see it as like you have both options, so I really like that. And yeah, inside it's got just a bunch of other additional settings. It's got HDR support. Obviously, it'll support lower resolutions like 1080p, etc., etc. But yeah, so the pros on this thing is it was super easy to use, no problems getting it set up. It does everything it advertises that it's going to do, and so I like it quite a bit. The only negatives, and this is partially my own fault, is it's much bigger than I anticipated. I mean, I know it's 32 inches and they said as much, but I really wasn't thinking about just exactly how big that is. And again, we'll talk about that in a second. The power cable, I mean, just the length of it's a little annoying. The only like legitimate issue I have is that it doesn't have any USB ports on it. That would have been nice because that could have had additional benefits, not necessarily just like, oh, you plug in a USB thumbstick and maybe you watch some videos on it. That requires additional software. But providing additional power to any sort of device around you with a USB port coming from the monitor would have been nice, particularly because this is a monitor. It is not a television, so it doesn't support sound natively. It has no built-in speakers. To that end, at the bottom, there's a panel you can remove. And behind it, you will see that there's a bunch of inputs. One of them is a 3.5mm audio jack. This is specifically because the monitor has no speakers. So you can either connect a headset or some sort of Bluetooth device through that if you have like a little adapter or whatever, or external speakers. That's where external speakers would have been nice because, you know, if they had a USB port, you could most likely power them through that. It doesn't have that, so that's technically a negative. The other inputs it has two HDMI inputs as well as two DisplayPort inputs. So that means it can house 4 different devices connected to it all at once, and you can just cycle with it. There's a bunch of buttons on the bottom as well for interfacing. They're also marked there so you can tell what you're doing. It's a monitor, so you kind of get used to that process of clicking around and figuring out what the different settings are, tweaking things, etc., to your satisfaction, so that's all good. One other like nice additional little bonus, by the way, is some of their cable management. So on the bottom here, under the legs, there's actually this little gap so you can run cables through it, and that kind of tightens everything together. Tighten arm. That was an unintended pun, sorry. But anyway, so that part is actually relatively nice there. So here's the deal. I don't 100% know why they sent this to me. At first, I thought it was because of, like, you see, like right now, the way this shot is framed, I have the monitor on my side. A lot of my videos, when I'm reviewing something or whatever, or checking something out, just kind of showing it to you, I'll have a monitor set up to my side so you guys can just kind of see it when it's not like something that's essential for captured footage, etc. And I've done that in the past with many of them. I thought that's what they were going for, but this monitor is way too big for that particular type of framing. So it's not going to serve that purpose as the way I had thought it would. Also, I don't game on PC, as I've made very clear over the years, so it doesn't do that for me either. However, where this is going to be really helpful to me, and everyone in my Discord will be like, oh, maybe he'll shut up a little bit more. This is really going to help me with my editing process. So currently my rig, the ones I'm literally making this video on, is a 2-monitor setup on my rig. One is like a nice 4K monitor I've shown in the past, and the other one is just kind of a generic Dell 1440p, like 25-inch, 27-inch, something like that monitor. That one actually is suffering from burn-in damage. So I was like, oh, it'd be kind of nice to replace it. And then along comes this out of nowhere. This is going to be a huge improvement. It's going to offer me more space. It's a better image. It's curved, etc. So basically, it's going to make my life easier in post-production. And that's makes me happy, because again, if you're in my Discord, you will see I am constantly whining about the editing process. So a huge shout out to Titan Army. They made a very good gaming monitor, PC gaming monitor in particular. I mean, that's obviously their focus. But for me, it's going to be a really useful editing monitor, so I'm very happy about that. So we got a big pile of games. These actually came from Game Hunting. This first stack was actually out in Michigan. For record, I'm in Chicago. This second one is actually from Ontario, Canada. I took a trip up there. And this third one is basically Washington, D.C., more accurately like Baltimore area, kind of that pocket in between. And then, of course, we got some packages that we're going to talk about. So, these are going to have separate videos. There's going to be game hunting videos on this stuff. The Baltimore one, not so much. I didn't end up filming anything there. But yeah, you can go ahead and check that stuff out when it comes. So, let's talk about some of these games. Now, this is going to be a bit of a shocker. I picked up PSP stuff. A surprising large amount of it, and I'm just going to spoil something for you guys. There's a PSP anniversary coming up, and I have a video coming out on it, and none of these games will appear in it because I didn't have them when I recorded it, so I'm sorry. Schedules are a pain, what can I tell you? Anyway, so let's go ahead. The first one we got, and I think I actually specifically mentioned this in that video because I didn't have it. It's called Irony. Assassin's Creed Bloodlines. This game, I don't remember. I think it was exclusive to the PSP, if I remember correctly, and still lives and dies on that platform. This didn't even get like the later kind of PS2 port or anything like that. It was just exclusive to this system. And I like the Assassin's Creed games, particularly the earlier ones more so. And so I always wanted to get this game physically. It was cheap, and that's all. I was just like, all right, I'll get it. And I recognize this is not the ideal way to play it. If I actually wanted to play it, the best way to do it would be like, you know, digitally on like a hacked PS3. At least myself as a console gamer, not through PC emulation. But you get what I'm trying to say. Also, of course, PSP later models have, you know, output options. So you'll see when I do my PSP video, when you see it, that I'm more of a... I like to play it on a TV. There are some great games on the PSP. I just really wish I could play on a TV. But thanks to a hacked PS3, you can. But speaking of that, another one, Crazy Taxi Fare Wars. There hasn't been much love for the Crazy Taxi franchise in recent years, so this is one I never really got to play. I don't know how it differs from the others because I haven't played it at all, but yeah, very cool. Crazy Taxi is one of those childhood franchises, or I should say, you know, it's still technically my childhood, but like, you know, middle-aged, not middle-aged, but middle school-aged era of childhood where I love Crazy Taxi. Also got some 360 stuff. I got, for the Xbox 360, a demo of Turok. I never saw this before. It's not something that's, like, worth anything, but I was just like, I kind of like my oddball demos. I don't typically get them for the 360, but for some reason I wanted this. I don't remember what my motive was, to be honest with you. I think it was the store I was in. This was, like, I wanted to get something, and this is, like, the only thing they had that I was of any interest. It was only, like, $1 or $2 or whatever, so I was like, whatever, I'll get that. Also picked up some games one that in particular I'd actually been looking for, which is Toy Story 3. I love Toy Story on the Genesis and Super Nintendo, Toy Story 2 on the Dreamcast especially. That game has a weird following to the point where it's been remade in Unreal Engine, at least from a fan perspective. I don't know if that was ever released, but I know I've seen photos of it online. But the games for Toy Story have always been oddly good. I've never actually played this one. I've heard it's good. In fact, this was an Xbox Games with Gold free game at one point, digital download. So this one's actually backwards compatible with the Series X and Xbox One, etc. So yeah, at some point, I don't know when, I will probably sit down and actually play that. This one I got the Testament of Sherlock Holmes. I like the kind of cool-looking horror style of it, but it's also an Atlas game, and most Atlas games are live and die on whatever system they were released on. So for that reason, I was kind of motivated to get it while it was still cheap, because this is only like a few bucks or whatever it was, so that was cool. The next one up requires a little bit of a story. You will see this place in my Michigan game hunting video. Actually, there's going to be 2 videos on game hunting in Michigan. And one of these places was weird. It was like this flea market type of thing, like an indoor flea market, and like all the way in the back there was just this game store. And the guy had odd stuff, and the pricing was all over the place. Some stuff crazy expensive, some stuff crazy cheap, etc. It's like you didn't really know what you were getting into. Those are kind of fun, because sometimes pricing in there can feel like the mid-90s, and sometimes pricing in there can feel like 30 years from now. Like, it's just whatever. But he had odd things. One thing he had that I liked was this. This is a sealed demo disc of Psychonauts for the original Xbox. As I said, I like my demo disc, particularly with the OG Xbox. I find them more engaging. I don't know why, probably just because of the era in which it came out. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to open it. I would prefer it wasn't sealed, to be honest with you, but I'm not going to open it because there's no point. It's just a demo disc, and I'm sure it's been dumped online, so there's really no reason to break the seal. But yeah, that was cool. But the 2 winners here... so I was with a buddy of mine named Snowman, and you'll see him in these Michigan game hunting videos, and he's very bitter about this. So the dude is going for a full Xbox 360 set. I don't know if global, but at least North American. And he's got almost all the titles. So when we would go somewhere, I let him he goes first dibs on any 360, because that's just good video game hunting policy. When you're with a buddy who's looking for something specific, you know, you let them, you know, have carte blanche, and they would do the same for you. Like, if I was looking, I'm not going for like a full, you know, Saturn set or anything, but if I was, he would let me go for that first, right? So he's looking through the 360, he grabs everything he wants, and once he's done, I decided to scope it out. Now, on the shelf, there were these 2 things that looked like demo discs, and I said, what are those? And he's like, they're like demos, I passed on them. And I was like, oh, okay. So I just grabbed them, and I started looking at them, and I'm like, these aren't demo discs. These are actually kiosk discs. I mean, they're technically demo discs, but they're kiosk discs. And he's like, wait, what? And so I'm looking, I'm like, yeah, they're experience discs. These are not for resale. This is version 5. Like, these would only come in kiosks as Microsoft was sending them out, and there was no other way to get them. And he's like, He's like, oh, wait. I'm like, no, I picked them up first. They're mine now. And he was like, no, wait. He's like, no, you're right. I passed on them. They're yours. So we're looking them up, and I'm like, okay, they had no price tags on them. And I had no idea what to expect. So I went online and to eBay and just to see if there were any sold. There was a couple, like, the average for each one was like $100. And I was like, I'm definitely not paying $100 for each of these. Like, it's cool, but like, I'm not that interested. So, but because there was no price tag, I had no idea what the guy was going to want. And so I went up to the register, and I had some of this stuff came from there. I also bought some things that aren't here just because, like, I bought Harry Potter's 4K Blu-ray set because it was only $30 for all 8 movies. You know, stuff like that. And so I gave him my pile, and I was like, yeah, these don't have prices on it. And he's just like, they're free, just they're demos. And I was like, okay. So that was the score of the trip, was these 2 discs. I was very happy about that. So yeah, very, very cool. And then we went over to Ontario, into Canada, and we picked up a whole bunch of stuff. Again, oddly enough, I walked away with a PSP game. We were at this store. Again, there will be an Ontario game hunting video. And one of them, I think it was in Windsor, Ontario, right at the end. Game Cycle, I think it was. Got a bunch of this stuff. That guy was really cool, and he cut us some deals on stuff. Everybody cut us deals. I got to mention that. Like, one thing that is fun about these, like, mom-and-pop retro game stores is if you kind of chat people up, you're sociable, whatever. A lot of times, you know, they'll cut you some bargains. Like, some stores will just buy 2, get 1 free type of deal or whatever. But this guy, so with the exchange rate being what it was when we were there, it really worked out in our favor. So I got Transformers, the game for PSP. I actually have this game on the 360, funny enough. I actually loved this game. I used to play this all the time, like when it first came out. It was like, finally a good Transformers game because it had been so long. Now there's just way too many games. I doubt the PSP game is actually anything in particularly interesting, but whatever. It was like $4 or whatever, so USD. So I was like, yeah, all right, whatever. Also tracked down a bunch of other 360 stuff he had. Probably because I had just bought, as I mentioned, the Harry Potter 4K Blu-ray set, I suddenly had this desire to get the Harry Potter games, and he had most of them. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, well, I just kind of skipped over there, but Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. He had those 3. So I was like, all right, that means I'm only missing one of them, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. That's cool, I can get that at some point. I also got Risen 3, Titan Lords, and Singularity, which is a game that Snowman had kept pushing on me. He's like, get this game, it's awesome. Nobody's ever heard of it, it's a lot of fun. You can be like cruel and brutal and all this sort of stuff. You can go up to people with like this fist that controls time, and when you get up to people, you can like turn them really old and they die. Like, you're just kind of masochistic and crazy. But whatever, he's like, yeah, you can go ahead and get that. And I found it, it was cheap, so I was like, all right, fine. And the Bourne Conspiracy. This one was an interesting one because I had seen it in a couple of stores and I kept kind of going, maybe. Throughout Michigan, I found it for like $10 and $15. This one was $4 Canadian. So that's only like $2.50. So yeah, I was like, that's a win. And then I also got some stuff at Toy Rat. Okay, Toy Rat. Now, Toy Rat is my favorite game store on this planet. Certainly in North America. There's maybe some stores in Japan that could compete, but in North America, it's awesome. It's in Milton, Ontario. I've been doing videos on it for the better part of a decade. Go out and check out that store if you ever have the chance. Toy Rat is also unique because, and Snowman noticed this, because Snowman bought out half the store, man. Like, he just bought tons of stuff. Toy Rat still prices things like it's the 90s, and I even had a conversation with him about it, and he's just like, I want stuff to move. You know, like, there's too many people in retro gaming who see it as just monetization. So they'll see like these demos, right? It's like, hypothetically, one sold on eBay for 100. I should put it up for 200 and see who's dumb enough to walk in. This Toy Rat's like, I could probably get more for some of this stuff, but I want it to move. You know, I want stuff sold. I want people to come here and not be like upset about the prices and just have a good time. There should be a bastion of reasonable pricing in retro video games. And was he ever right about that? So I got Fighting Street. This broke one of my rules. Like, I almost never buy imports domestically, but in this case, the PC Engine CD game, basically the first Street Fighter game, but with a different name at the time because they hadn't really settled on it yet. Not particularly great game, to be honest, but it was just kind of cool to have. And I've seen this in Japan for like $70 equivalency. We found it in Michigan actually for like $100 US. He was only charging like $30. Yeah, with the exchange rate. And so I was like, dude, and he's like, I want stuff to move. And so I was like, all right, well, it's moving to my house. So that was really cool to get. And I also picked up a couple of GameCube games. Now, with the GameCube, my goal is to get every single game on it that never came out on the original Xbox. And there's not that many of them left that I actually need. There's a good chunk, but I've been just kind of slowly chipping away at it. And we got a couple here. One was Odama. This has the big box, so it comes with the, like, there's a microphone and stuff. The big box, the outer layer box, not in the best of shape, but he, you know, if I'm gonna be honest, Toy Ride actually just gave this to me for free. Like, he was charging 50 CAD, which is about like 35 USD, but he just gave it to me for free outright. Because he's also like that. Like, if you get a bunch of stuff, he'll just be like, here's a deal on top of it. So it's like a deal on a deal. And I know Snowman was crazy happy with it, to the point where Snowman's like, I'm willing to, in like 6 months, I'm just going to hop in my car and just drive up to Toronto again and just stop there and just go to that store. For us, from Chicago, it's like 7-hour drive to Milton, Ontario from here. And he was like, I'm down whenever. So maybe we'll do that in 6 months. The other game I got from him, Pool of Paradise. Nothing crazy. It was just another game. I was like, oh, it's on the list. I don't have it. Whatever. I'm going to go ahead and get it. And yeah, so that completed my Canadian pickups. Shortly after that, I made my way out to the East Coast. I was in Washington, D.C. with my buddy Sunshine for a little while. And we also hung out with Joseph, the Hard Off Destroyer. And if you guys watch my travel channel, you'll be more familiar with these people. Everybody should go watch that channel. I am telling you, even if you're not super into, like, hey, what's the food items in Baltimore? Like, you should still go. You will see weird stuff and recurring jokes and things that you're just like, this feels like hanging out with my buddies. Like, that's kind of what that channel goes for. This is hanging out with my buddies all over the world. And if you're my buddy, you end up in the videos. So you should do that. But anyway, go watch those videos. They're fun. Link in the description. But while we're out there, I wasn't really filming stuff for that purpose. And we were just like in a game store and we're just like, oh, let's check out this out. Because, you know, we all have the same mutual interest. Sunshine got a bunch of stuff, as he tends to do. Joseph got nothing, because it's not a hard off, and therefore he couldn't destroy it. But I got a few things, and I wasn't really expecting to. I don't know, I was in a mood. You know, sometimes you ever go into a game store and you're just like in a mood to buy nothing, and sometimes you're in a mood to be like, I need stuff. That was the mood I was in, and I found some oddities. The first one was definitely odd, and not normally the type of thing I would get, but I'd literally never seen it before, and I thought it was bizarre. This is a DVD promo item, not for resale, from EB Games, back when they still existed, Electronics Boutique, for Resident Evil 4. It's basically just a promo DVD for the GameCube game, for in-store use, not for resale. I've seen a few of these online. I looked it up. It's not particularly valuable. It's like a $25 item. I think I paid like $15, you know, like nothing super crazy. It is not a game. It's just a DVD. But I don't know. Resident Evil type of merch like this, this is not the type of thing I normally would have got, but I don't know. For some reason it called to me, I wanted it, and so now I've got it here. I don't know if this is sealed or a reseal. I don't really care either way, but it's not a game, so it really doesn't matter. It's just a cool little item. Back on the PSP kick, oddly enough, we had Virtua Tennis World Tour. I got this just because Sega, and also because it was like $5. So, whatever. That was cool. And I achieved that other goal. I found Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. Now, even more fittingly, this is the Canadian version, despite finding it in Baltimore. How can I tell? Because it's got English and French on it. I don't particularly like it when it's got French on it, just because I don't speak French, but it's not grossly offensive, and it was not particularly expensive, so I was like, whatever, that's fine. If anything, it's perfect. And a couple other 360 games I decided to get just because they kind of live and die on the system, at least from that era. These games are not getting reissued. You got Up, you know, the Disney movie. And speaking of Disney movies, we also got WALL-E, also a Pixar movie. I don't know if these games themselves are actually any good, but I can assure you they're never being reissued. I know they had like PS3 versions and whatever. There's probably a PC edition as well. But I typically, if I don't have, like the 360, I have no goal specifically on it. Like there's no, I need a full set, or I need every game that wasn't released on this, or whatever. It's really just what gets me interested for whatever reason. And usually it's either a game I'm interested in just because it's a fun looking game, or it's a game that will be unlikely to ever have some sort of reissue in any other capacity. Now, it's not impossible to say that Disney may not do like a Pixar game collection at some point. Don't know. But for now, it's kind of unlikely that they would reissue a movie tie-in game. So I thought, okay, they're cheap, get them. All right, so that's everything I bought. Now we got package time. All this stuff was sent to me for free, purposes of review, and we're going to open up and take a look at each one. I sort of know what this is. I do not know what this is. And this I very much know what this is. We're going to start here. This came from Videogames New York. And I'm pretty... Well, okay, I shouldn't say I don't know what it is outright. I think it's a Dreamcast release, but I'm not 100% on that. Basically, Dan, who runs Videogame New York, just messaged me. He's like, sending you a care package. And I was like, all right, thanks. So there'll be links in the description to all this stuff, by the way. So if you want to check out Videogames New York to get this or any of the stuff they have, as well as Titan Army if you want to check out their monitor. I should also mention, well, we'll get to that. But there'll be links for these things as well. All right, so inside, I see Dreamcast stuff. Okay, that was quick. Inside, it is some physical indies games, little promo thing, just kind of explaining stuff. And then, there it is, the Stormwind Limited Edition re-release. So, Stormwind is a game that came out on the Dreamcast, man, like 2008, maybe? Like, it's been a while. It's actually debatably the best indie game on the system. I said years ago that I felt like it was the only indie game ever produced for the Dreamcast that felt like something I would have believed had been an original retail release. But yeah, that's cool. I didn't know they made 500 of them. That's neat. I don't know if they updated the game itself in any capacity. There's one area. So the original game was produced by Red Spot Publishing, or Red Spot Games. They do not exist anymore. So I would bet the code of the game has been updated to remove their logo and possibly replace it with this. Beyond that, if they went that far, it's not impossible to think they maybe changed some stuff. But the truth is, I don't know, because it doesn't... I don't see any acknowledgement of any in-game changes, but it's very possible they added some stuff or whatever. Features, 16 amazing levels, 7 worlds, 100 enemies, 20 bosses, 3 selectable level difficulties, trophy system, and unlockables. Supports 60 Hz, 50 Hz, HDMI and VGA cables. So yeah, it's region-free and supports the VGA modes. But yeah, this is a legit good game. So it's cool that it's got a new print run, because if you want to check it out, the original print run of this is definitely expensive and hard to get. So having a new option, that's definitely cool. So huge shout out to Video Games New York for that one. Next up, this comes from Retro Fighters. Retro Fighters makes controllers. I've done videos on a lot of their stuff. I assume that is what this is, but they didn't. Retro Fighters has a tendency to never interact with me. They never tell me when they're sending me anything. Stuff just shows up. I send them a message, be like, is there anything about this I should know? I never hear back. We have a weird relationship. It's mostly them sending me stuff, and I never hear about them. Like, you know what I mean? But whatever. So I don't know if this is something I'm going to do a video on, because I legit don't know what it is, but we'll go ahead and open it up and take a look. So we got one little piece of tape here. And inside, oh, what is this? All right. This is the Mantis for the PlayStation or PS4 and PC specifically. The Mantis wireless gamepad. You have to understand, because they didn't tell me anything, this is my first exposure to it. Including is the PS4 Mantis Bluetooth wireless controller by Retro Fighters. This controller is small in size, but big in features. The Mantis Mini PS4 wireless controller pulls out all the stops with loads of features. Everything from Hall effect sensors, programmable back buttons, variable trigger stops, touchpad with LED indicator bar, built-in gyro, and more. Yeah, so it's got built-in speakers and stuff. I'm wondering, like... I mean, do you guys want me to do a separate video on it? Like, I don't know, like, because I had no idea what this was in advance. I thought maybe it was a different controller, but I guess I was totally wrong. So, yeah, basically, this is the Mantis. I'll put a link in the description if you want to check it out. I might do a video on it. I probably should tinker with it a bit and make that decision. But if nothing else, this is just kind of a new redesign of a PS4 controller. We'll see. That might get its own video. I don't really know. But if nothing else, again, thank you to Retro Fighters for sending the Mantis for the PS4. This I know what this is, and this is definitely getting its own video, so we're just going to kind of tease it here. Let me see. Cut through here. Because this is pretty cool. I don't know who else is getting this right away. I was a little surprised when they said they were sending this to me so quickly, but here it is. We got two. These are from Marseille. Marseille made the M Classic. And I believe that this is what that is. They have a new line called the RGB Collection. So this is the green one. And this is the, I'm guessing the blue one. I don't really know. Yep, there it is, the blue one. They did not send the red one. I don't know why. I would assume either it's very similar, if not identical to the original. I don't really know. Obviously, I haven't had a chance to use these. Here's what I know about these at this point. So Marseille, who made the M Classic, they also made the M Cable before. Basically, it's like a really cool like upscaling device that does a lot of post-processing on any sort of gameplay. Effectively, a little dongle you add to a system to make the video games look better. Like, that's the idea. The original M Classic, which I've kind of put in a lot of videos because I actually legitimately think it's a great product. It's also a use case product, though. It's one that you kind of have to know what you're doing when you go into it. And I find that most people who don't like it, it boils down to user error or just personal preference on the image. That's fair enough. But yeah, anyway, so they decided, I guess, to update certain elements of it and try to specialize in different areas. So the red one that already exists was kind of generic. It was like all processing or turned off, or it had a 4x3 mode. These, to my understanding, this one, the blue one, is the Switch model. So they've done certain things to maximize the Switch. I don't know what yet, but that's specifically what this is. So I'll have to obviously tinker with that. And this is the classic retro mode, which, from what I vaguely remember them telling me, they had kind of designed around the color palette of a CRT. So yeah, I'll have to obviously look more into that. And I'm guessing, because they didn't send the red one, that there's not enough of a difference with it, but I don't actually know that offhand. But we will assess when that time for that comes. So yeah, huge shout out to Marseille. I'll put a link in the description. I think they just launched this as well, so like the early access program is available now. But yeah, I'll put a link to them. So huge shout out to Marseille, huge shout out to Retro Fighters, Video Games New York, as well as Titan Army. And obviously, thank you guys very much for watching. If you guys can do me a favor again, please like the video, comment down below, subscribe if you've never done that before, as well as check out all the social media stuff in the description: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, Patreon, Spreadshirt, that travel channel I keep talking about. I appreciate it. Or in the Discord, you can hang out with me, and you can hang out with Snowman, and hang out with all these people who get annoyed how much I complain about editing. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all later.